Look how the stars turn on. Look how the stars turn on. When I hold you close. When I hold you close. When I hold you close. The stars turn on.
Hello and welcome to Season 4, Episode 31 of the Press Box in association with the Unit. Well, we're back after a short hiatus, and needless to say, there's plenty to chat about on and off the field. But before we go into all that, I'm just delighted to be able to congratulate Craig on his recent wedding. That's the reason we weren't able to do a podcast the last couple of weeks. Probably a good excuse as well, given everything that was happening. But congratulations, I suppose, is in order.
Thank you. It was nice to have some positivity around the last few weeks. So yeah, no, good few weeks. Good break as well, and I'm back at it now for some probably more hard-hitting news that isn't as positive maybe as the last few weeks for myself. But I suppose while we were away, we did lose 2-0 at home to Bows. The 5 defeats in a row at least was halted at Eamon DC Park on Saturday when Owen Kenny popped up with a 96-minute equaliser to earn a point away to Galway. Despite what would have usually been a good result, that means John Daly's side, who aren't in action this weekend, could be relegated by the time we host Derry City on October 18th if Drogheda had beat Waterford on Friday. If only relegation was our only concern, with off-the-field matters remaining at the forefront of supporters' minds amid pay concern, both for the playing and for academy teams. There's another topic, I suppose, that probably needs to be addressed. That's probably far from the likes of football on the field, but we had been off for a few weeks. We didn't actually ever get to really address the sad loss of Mark Maxi Kavanagh, but I know you were at the funeral last week and probably would have met him through the years. So I don't know if you have any words that maybe you'd like to discuss before we kind of move on to other matters.
Yeah, this actually happened. I think it broke the day of your wedding, if I'm not mistaken. So we went from a pretty big high, let's be honest, because delighted for you and Anya, etc. And it was great event, but kind of didn't know what to say about it. Not often I'm probably stuck for words on something, but it definitely, I think it hit everyone hard. His passing, and I did do a little tribute to him in the Argus eventually, when I came back. But look, needless to say, he was a great guy, a larger than life character, a good sort of friend over the years. He was someone I wouldn't have spoke to regularly, but whenever you did, you couldn't help but be, I suppose, taken in by his positivity and attitude and probably manners as much as anything else. And he'd always, not just with me, but he always built everyone else up. That I think the last time I spoke to him, he was, you're a world-class journalist and all this, and which I'm far from, but he'd nearly have you believing you were. He built everyone up, and it was just unfortunate, I suppose, that he didn't, greatness is one of his big words, but he didn't see the greatness in himself, in a way. But an incredible send-off, to be fair, both at his funeral and later back in Oriel, and even the night before in the funeral home. We went down to that as well. There was a celebration of his life, and a lot of people got up and spoke about him and all that. And it was a wonderful tribute to, a guy who, yeah, we're going to be talking about football matters in a moment, and it kind of puts things into a little bit of, significance, because this is a son, a brother, a friend, a father, a grandfather, a fan, and it kind of felt like a bit of a funeral for Dundalk in many ways, or the modern Dundalk, at least, with everything that's going on right now. But and maybe it's something we can chat about in more detail, and I think it does need to be. It is World Mental Health Day this week, but the annoying thing for me, and I don't want to dwell on this too long, but you know, we've been talking in recent months about, knocking this on the head, and you're reflecting on different podcasts you've done and all that. And one of the episodes that stands out to me that I'm happiest with that I did, because certainly a regret on the pod is maybe not having enough guests on, or maybe not getting it, just timing and when we do it and all that. But I remember doing the piece with Shane Taff. I think it was at the 1 year anniversary of Harry's death, and that's a long time ago now, but we haven't moved on from it. Like, the mental health services are not fit for purpose in this country, sadly. And both Harry and Maxi, and they were great buddies to wear, but they did everything that you'd want someone to do: go seek help, and the help effectively wasn't there. And it just it feels like it was avoidable, and there's a big loss to this town, this community, and obviously to the Kavanagh and McAllister families as a result. But look, I don't think we'll ever see another Maxi, to be fair, and but he leaves so many incredible memories. So yeah, just, I suppose, pass on our sympathies to all his family, all his friends, and hopefully they're doing okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said, boy. Yeah, very quickly, I didn't know the man either, and uh, absolutely just understand probably the mental health issues in this country. It's a very sad outcome, and again, hopefully in future maybe things can change. But again, condolences to all family and friends around him, because it's an awfully sad time. I think, to be fair, I know we didn't want to not reference it as well, because we've been off for a few weeks, but a very sad time for Dundalk. But we will move on with club matters in that sense. And we did throw out a few questions and stuff on Twitter and Instagram the last few days. So there is actually a lot. So I don't know what actually a lot more than I thought. Do you want me to
I
just read a
suppose, look,
few? Or
I think look, there's a lot to go through, and I think maybe read them, and we probably need to
yeah,
respond to each of them, because there's that many topics. To be fair, it felt like and look,
right.
I'm conscious of the fact that I don't want to be a spokesperson for this either, but I appreciate them. I've had a lot of messages and stuff, and I apologize if I didn't get back to everyone over the last couple of weeks. There's been, I get it, fans are worried. I'm not a spokesperson. I don't have all the answers. If I can give some clarity on something, I'm happy to. But look, there's a lot to discuss. Some of it will be opinion or whatever, of where we are, where we're going. But yeah, look, let's just roll through it, and we can. And again, you pitch in too, because I'm sure you have opinions on different things.
Well, there's three or four of the first on the first page, so I'll go through a few of them for you. We'll just address by 4 or 5. So Oliver Bard said, "Can someone tell us what's going on, please?" Then Trevor Russell asked for our thoughts on a tweet from Between the Stripes on Tuesday night, which stated that the money isn't there to pay for the academies. Trevor said, "Obviously, if we've no club, we've no academy, but if the club can be saved, the academy has to take priority so we can develop the first team players. A lot of excellent young players are currently in this club." Jason Shanahan asked about the
I think,
element.
yeah. Well, just we'll pause it before we go into, because the next one's on another sort of unrelated matter, but just to give context to that. So, yeah, the 1903 had a meeting on Tuesday night. I think we were due to record after it, and it was so late getting out of it that and I had a very early start this morning. I just said, look, we'll give it the attention it deserves tonight. And I suppose, long story short, Orla Crowley, the chair of the 1903, had a meeting with John Temple round about an hour or so before the meeting. He didn't attend himself. stated that he didn't want maybe comments taken out of context by, X amount of people in the room, and maybe five or six understand what he means and others don't and take it up the wrong way. That was his reasoning, which, look, all we can do is accept it, whether you agree with it or not. Um, but long story short, basically, Orla told the meeting that, you know, while he was willing to pay the first team till the year end as per his original commitment when he acquired the club last month, there was no money there for the academy. Now the concern of that is that, obviously, look, when John Temple took over, was this, the original statement said, pay the players till the end of the season and then see was it a viable entity going forward. I presume that's still the case, but I mean, you can't get a license without an academy. So if your academy folds for whatever reason or doesn't see out their respective seasons, um, needless to say, what is a football club without a license? But there's no point in owning a bar and it's no trade license to trade or sell alcohol. So that's a concern, because when you acquire the club, you take on all parts of it. And to be fair, Bernard Freeman was there. Bernard obviously involved with the women's setup in particular, but he gave a brief overview of the costing of some of this. So he estimated that it takes roughly 30 grand per year to run each of the underage sides. There's six of them at the moment, four men's underage sides and two women's underage sides. So that's about 180 grand a year. Now, some of obviously the 1903, and again we're going back and forth here a little bit, but the 1903 had raised a sum of money through fundraising, mainly through the GoFundMe that was set up at the time the club was in difficulty. Now, some of that did go towards obviously the first team as well, to assist them with buses to matches and meals before games and stuff like that. But a lot of it had also gone to the underage sides. Now, again, and the 1903, I'm sure, would be happy to share the exact figures. I don't have them to hand, but you're talking ballpark, roughly, it's been costing about 4 grand a week just to run buses to the various matches. Now, that includes first team and underage. So it kind of gives you an insight into the expense of running an academy, just purely getting to matches. To be fair to the parents of a lot of the players, I think they've any sort of game around Dublin, they're carpooling it effectively and taking the kids there themselves. It's the matches further afield. Again, we'll probably be reading out the underage stuff later, but I know for a fact there was definitely one of the underage sides was in Mayo last weekend. I think there's 3 underage sides in Donegal this weekend. So you have to get them there. And look, again, the academy is so important, but it's also it's potentially your future, particularly if you're heading back to the first division, because like you take I mean, this meeting happened on Tuesday, and that coincided with one day, I think it was the Irish under-16s were playing, and that on the Irish under-16 side was captained by Sean Spate, who's from Dundalk, and the goal in the game was scored by TJ Malloy, who again is a Dundalk player. So, like, listen, I'm not going to tell you they're going to be the next Evan Ferguson, but they may well be. But that's where we are. So anyway, long story short, a vote was taken basically to put the funds that are still there. I think they'd been roundabout, and again, Orla in the 1903, I'm sure, would be very upfront about this. I think there was round about €26,000 raised to date from bucket collections, GoFundMe was, as I say, was the main one. Roughly about 13,000 of that has been spent to date. Now the good news is, with just the way the fixtures fall, there's not much required now for the first team for the rest of the season, because the next two matches are both at home to Derry and Shamrock Rovers, and then you have an away fixture to Drogheda, which, look, again, it's easy to get to. It's not, you don't require pre-match meals, etc. So a vote was taken initially for this weekend, just that the 1903 would fund the academy this weekend, and I think there's due to be a voting form sent out this week, and maybe by the time most people listen to this, it may already be in their inboxes, for that support to continue for the remainder of the season. And again, there's further fundraisers to, I got the impression there's probably enough there maybe to more or less see it through till the end of the year as is, but there is further fundraisers taking place this weekend, obviously. So that would more or less, take up your remaining funds, but definitely question marks for the owner, and potentially even the FAI, to answer how you can acquire a club or expect to acquire a club and not, run one of the now. And admittedly, to be fair to John Temple, we're getting this sort of third-hand information. I'm not doubting Orla Crelly on it at all, but he hasn't commented on it. So, I mean, there's an open invite there if he wants to respond to that. But yeah, it definitely doesn't look good, and it's certainly, it's a large part of your club, and there's so much effort that goes into the underage as well from so many people. So, I mean, that's probably where we stand on the underage. And again, we're probably going to go into other topics as we move through the questions. But if you have a view on that, I think.
Well, my view is to question so two parts. You're referencing third party information, and that is because whether it's right or wrong, John Temple is not, again, and it's nothing to do with John Temple, it's every owner seems to be, and giving a lack of communication to people and fans that want to know what's going on. I understand that he's probably doing a lot of firefighting in the background right now, and that needs time, etc. But I still think there's certain things that need to be discussed. If this academy thing is a feature, as you referenced, with licensing and potential development of the club, like, it needs to be addressed. He also said, well, I will be paying the club to keep it going until the rest of the season. Surely when you are buying the club or taking it over, you understand that these are costs that the club have. So why is this just being dismissed? I just feel, here we go again. And without communication, that's very much where I am. Like, we don't know anything, and
Yeah,
that's my issue.
And just to say on that, so I would have, obviously John did, and I think this is, it feels like 3 months ago now at this stage, but John did the interview with Gavin through the club channels when he took over. I would have reached out to John at that point and kind of, like every fan, wished him well, and give him a kind of an open invite. Doesn't have to speak to me, but look, I'm happy to chat to him if he does. And as recently as Saturday, I was also in touch with him. And again, sort of said, look, if you want to chat on off the record, whatever. His answer to me was that when he has time to talk to the media, he'll be in touch. He did say there's lots going on, but he feels it would be better to get on with the work and then meet. So
I understand that, but I just feel,
yeah, and I'm just saying for context, I just want to, like, it's not like, I've been away a bit recently and probably not on the beat maybe as much as possible. Like, for example, I wasn't at the Bows game, which was to date the only home game since John took over. I don't even know if he was there. I didn't ask. So, like, a fan will probably, tell me whether he was or he wasn't. I did see him above on last Thursday when Maxi's remains were up in Oriel, but it wasn't the appropriate time, in my opinion, anyway, to go and start approaching people for interviews or discussions or whatever else. But yeah, I just wanted to give that context that the offer has been made, and I'm sure other people have offered as well. But I'm saying just from he has an open invite there from at least one media outlet, me, that there is an opportunity to go and speak and answer the questions should he choose to. He's obviously chosen, which is his prerogative and right to do. He's obviously chosen not to, for the moment at least.
From a fan's point of view, and that's what I am. I'm not a journalist. I'm a fan. To have taken the club over, discussed potential investors, and you obviously have certain investors, to not name them, not discuss any plans, and understandably there's debts and potential financial issues have arose, and I get all this. But our problem for the last few years was a lack of transparency and communication. And it's here we are again. And if you talk, and again, all of our friends, me and you in group chats and stuff, that's all we talk about. And it's like, well, what's happening here? And it's still nothing. And it's the silence that kills all. And then to hear different things about wages and stuff. And again, Dundalk's a small town. These are like, when people want to talk about wages, there's lots of nonsense that goes around, and I will accept that. But we all know people involved in the club, players in the club, that what's going on. And I just think nothing has shown me as a fan, just as a fan, in my opinion, leadership and what's the potential future. I understand the man is potentially firefighting for the next few weeks, but give fans updates. Come do another interview with Gavin, but let's have the proper questions. The people are still hugely concerned about the general future of this club. And that's the thing. Like, so since the time Brian Ainscough has left to now, which is potentially a month ballpark, people's views and fears haven't changed. We still feel the same. It's all negative or nothing. There's nothing that's positive that's come out to say, well, we're trying to fight this. And I understand you can't commit to as much information, but give something. And I think that's a huge for fans. And I'm a fan. I'm afraid of where the future of the club is going, because I'm still hearing nothing. Only things you hear in the background is negative. Now, I do understand, I don't believe a lot of Chinese whispers and stuff like that, but from people that I know of good sources, I wouldn't be very confident about what's happening. And I think he could address a few things. And if things aren't great, let's all do it together. Let's all, balls out. Let's see where we are and see what can be done, and give them fans, all of us, the respect that they deserve after X amount of owners that have been silent via communication. And I think he needs to come out and say something to anybody. It doesn't have to be you. I don't care. Whatever.
I agree. And you mentioned the word fear there. Like, I've been fearing stuff for about 2 years now, so I'm way ahead of it now. I'm not saying it's right, and this is why you bring the association into it, because this takeover and other subsequent questions about this, it did look and it did feel like there was definitely a point, maybe that Sunday night, Monday morning, where you thought there won't be a Dundalk FC by the end of the week. So,
nothing's changed.
We saw the end of the week, right? For whatever that's worth, right? Now, maybe it's a case of live to die another day, but hear me out. So, right, if he wasn't going to do, so I look back on the actual statement from the time, and for me anyway, the crucial line is the second, and he would argue he's doing what he said he'd do. So it says John Temple will lead a consortium of investors, and admittedly there is questions who they are, who have agreed to underwrite the players' current wages until the end of the season, and will examine the viability of the club and its facilities going forward. So, and I'm not defending him, but at no point did he mention the academy there. He said he will underwrite the current players' wages until the end of the season and say, listen, I'm not saying it's right, but that's where we're at. And if that's what I suppose, there has to be like, is the money there? Does he want to be here longer than the end of the season? Is he open to talking to other people that maybe want to take it on? Because look, I appreciate time was of the essence here, in that it did look like the, the game was up. Um, but when you acquire a club, you acquire all of it.
Hmm.
You can't pick and choose. Like, it's part of licensing, it's part of the FAI agreements, etc. That a club is not just the first team, and for
And
me,
he's
it's
not an
worrying that
idiot. The
that's
man's a
that's not a
barrister. So
priority.
yeah. I'm sorry. I just can't have that. Like, I'm not giving somebody a break because, oh, I didn't understand. I didn't know. You did know. You're
No,
buying a
I've no
club.
doubt. I've no doubt he knows. But what I am saying, and I'm not defending him. What I am saying is, he only committed, as per his statement, to, and again, I read it again, underwrite the players' current wages until the end of the season. And there's nothing there about run the club as a going concern. He does say examine the viability of the club and its facilities, and I'm sure that's happening. But again, you'd have to question why that was allowed to go through if only one part of what the overall running of the club
Yeah. Well, that's an FAI
is
issue.
about.
And also, I'm not
And by
accepting
the way,
potato,
this is
potato on a legal thing. I'm
yeah,
going,
no,
hold on, lad.
and the thing about this as well is, right, so I mentioned two underage players there. We have many, right? I don't know many players are in the academy across the six teams, but like, hypothetically, if one of them does go on to be the next, be it Evan Ferguson or Mason Mealy or whatever, um, if this club sort of like goes down an examinership route or equally goes into liquidation, you lose your sort of, you know, there's a, there's benefits financially if you develop a player who, you know, goes on to big things.
And by the way, with
And
that, on the under 17s, in Dundalk, I know there's players that are now leaving to Northern Irish clubs, to Drogheda, to Shelburne. So we're going to be losing all of this anyway, because there's a fear. Parents
yeah,
have a view now to think. So we're already losing potentially a lot of talent. Maybe no talent, maybe who knows? But all of this, because
well,
nobody's.
you take our under 14s, for example, which is the youngest of the age groups at the club. Our under 14s are away to Finn Harps this Sunday. A 13 or 14-year-old shouldn't be sweating on whether the game's going ahead,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
if there's a bus for them. Um, so again, if I was a parent, I'd want better than that. And you'd expect better than that at the Key Celtics, the Rock Celtics, the Glenmuirs, the St. Dominic's, etc., the local junior clubs. Um, and look, but that's where we are. But look, there's a lot of topics to maybe touch on, and I think that's the academy. I think we'd all agree the academy is very important for the club. I don't think anyone from a supporters base is disputing that, and particularly, um, look, and I hope I'm wrong on this, but it's going to take some mad miracle, but it's looking increasingly like we are going to be playing first division football next season, if we're playing at all. And if and when if and when that happens, you're going to massively have to cut back and scale your costs. So, needless to say, you're going to need more of your young players. But if
Yeah.
I'm a young 18, 19, 20-year-old at Dundalk right now, and I'm one of the, like, let's to say the cream always rise to the top. Was our 17s last year went agonizingly close to winning that division, and then many of them left afterwards. And it's same with our women's teams, where we've had some really good female players. Still have some. I don't want to, be disrespectful to those who are still there, but like we've lost a lot of really good talent because we didn't have a pathway to a senior women's team just yet. And that puts the future of women's football in jeopardy, in terms of senior women's football in this town, massively in jeopardy as well. But like, yeah, you couldn't blame any young player or any player for that matter, even at first team level, if there's speculation over, the facilities, the pay, something as simple as getting a bus. You couldn't blame anyone for moving to somewhere that will provide that.
Yeah. Again, there's a million questions. So Jason Shanahan asked about the LMFM deleted tweet about wages. What are your thoughts on that one?
I want to be careful about this one because I know, and it's just out of respect for LMFM because I know a lot of people who work there. My initial thought, and I was with Adrian Taff, who, for the record, had nothing to do with the tweet, but I was with Adrian Taff on co-commentary in Galway on Friday. This message obviously went up just after the game, and my thought immediately was it was wrong, and wrong in the sense that and again, I don't have it to hand because it's been, I think it's been removed, but it effectively said the players hadn't been paid this week or last week or whatever the exact phrase was. The players were paid last week. The issue is outstanding though that they haven't been paid for the initial week, so they are still owed an outstanding sum. So technically, they were wrong to tweet that the players didn't get paid last week because money was transferred to them. But are they owed outstanding amounts? Yes. And I would have confirmed that with the players' union and would have confirmed that with a handful of players. Which, look, isn't ideal. And that creates a lot of worry for people, and rightly or wrongly. And again, John Temple is welcome to, he has my number, ring me up and contact me and say otherwise. But there's a feeling, and it's only a feeling among those on the ground, that effectively the home gate from Bowes, which was obviously, I think it was our second highest attendance of the season. Again, I wasn't there, but it was over 3,000. I know there was a bit of a campaign for people to leave the season ticket at home as well. So I'd imagine the gate receipts were up in terms of income. There's a feeling, rightly or wrongly, that would have contributed towards the payment last week. And that's how the players were paid last week. That may not be the case at all. There might be a pot in the account. I don't know. But that's the feeling among people on the ground. And they are worried, as you can't blame them, with no home game this week and having played away from home last week. Will there be wages there this week? You'd want a crystal ball for that, probably from our perspective, but it's probably, look, we've said it before, it's not fair on anyone in any walk of life when they do a job and when they sign a contract not to be paid.
Yeah. One thing after another. Anyway, KVC said, what project should the 1903 supporters back? We need to invest in items that bring a consistent revenue stream. Would 150 grand turn the Lily-White Lounge into a nice bar or restaurant to bring family or friends for a nice meal and a few drinks? Cover the town and away ends to attract more supporters. I suppose that's probably referencing, as most people probably are aware, there's, again, you were at the meeting, so I'm not going to be misquoted, that the 1903 are potentially doing their own kind of trust, trying to bring people together, get maybe a percentage of ownership of the club, etc. But also there's another trust, and again, similar, trying to raise money for potential ownership to help with funds and I suppose keep the club afloat, let's be honest. And I suppose this is a nice time to kind of come into that there is two potential alternatives. I don't know. You can talk now about how the one the other night came down, but again, a few lads did actually. I sent it to you there, but actually, a few lads did actually contact me just about the other trust, and there's more information on that. But for anybody that is interested, there is actually going to be a meeting. Where are we now? Where's my phone? Boom, boom, boom.
Right, Friday, 25th of October.
Friday, 20, yeah, and at 7 p.m. in the town hall. And that'll give everybody else a full info, full everything they need. I don't know enough info. We've all seen kind of PDFs and different things, and it is a potential we all have to put money in, and what we get back is going to be what the guys will show us. So there's obviously, I hope, some ownership, but again, boards and that will have to be built. But there is obviously two. So just say there is, for people that didn't go last night, there's another option that's going to be in the town hall, as we just discussed the dates and time. But also, you're at the meeting last night, so I don't know what the difference you felt were in the two, or potentially for me, by the way, as a one-liner, I feel we should all be batting down the same hatch, going as one. I don't know if there's communication issues, clashes of character. I don't know, but I think for credibility, I think if there is going to be a trust and an ownership thing of fans, there can only be one that we do. And that has to be everybody coming together. So I don't know what happened last night. I wasn't there. But from your side, I suppose, and you'd be well aware as much as myself about the other trust, what were your thoughts on the general gist of last night and potentially having two rival trusts potentially?
Well, look, my major view, and to go back to Davy's original question about what project should the supporters back, I would have been, banging the drum for a very long time that this is all stuff we should have been doing anyway, and that, right, you're probably never going to raise enough money to build a new ground, for example, but there's so much you could do, to improve Oriel Park as a facility. So the restaurant he gave there, or the recommendation he gave there was to, maybe turn the Lily White Lounge into a nice bar and restaurant. And there's definite merits in that, and that's something that's achievable. We were hearing quotes not that long ago that, to get the YDC open would cost ballpark 100 to 150k. Right, there's another project that could be done. Even something as simple as, can we improve the toilet facilities? Can we build like the likes of a mono stand, or get the likes of a temporary stand back in that we would have had 10 years ago for the likes of the Cork game when we won the league title. So there's
corporate. There's
exactly, yeah. Look, and other clubs have done this to good effect. So there's endless amount of things, even as simple as what would it cost to replace all the seats in Oriel, and automatically the place has a bit of a fresher look. We are members, for example, of a club that has invested in a facility this year, and the place is the better for it, right? So, for example, we all love going to Oriel Park, and we could make it better. Brilliant, right? This, again, I think the time to do this was probably a decade ago. But anyway, we are where we are. At the moment, and all that is very important going forward. Don't get me wrong, if there's a club here, which hopefully there is, but the sheer survival of things is the top priority. So I don't want to be seen as disrespectful to Davy, because I'm fully on board for all of those suggestions. Obviously you can't do them all at the one time, but it's a bit like worrying what shirt you're going to wear when you're lying in your hospital bed on your deathbed. It's kind of irrelevant right now. The sheer survival is, for me anyway, and I've only one opinion, is what's most important. Now, there's a lot of people sort of care. I suppose the everything that's happened in the last sort of month or so has stirred a lot of reaction, and I suppose in a positive way, and that needs to be harnessed. But for me anyway, like this isn't have a go people on either side, but for me anyway, it was slightly embarrassing to see what occurred at the meeting on Tuesday, where you have definitely two trusts, for want of a better word, with effectively the same plan. Now, I'm not saying either plan is flawed. We need to hear more on it, obviously, and certainly in the case of the new trust, we'll call it for want of a better term, rather than 1903, they have put out a proposal. Now, my fear is, and they've obviously moved ahead, right? And we'll hear more of this. Look, a public meeting is going to happen from what is going to be known as the Dundalk FC Supporters Trust. But over the weekend, I saw another document separate to this from what is a proposal for another trust. Now, I didn't read it in great detail because I was actually at the game when it came through to me, and it wasn't on my phone or whatever. So there could be as many as 3 trusts, but then I'm also led to believe there's another group looking to secure a meeting with John Temple to discuss similar plans. So that's just what I've heard. Now, listen, saying you're going to do something and following through on it are completely separate things. And maybe these can all be harnessed together and brought together, but that's where we need to get to. And that's been my fear about Dundalk from a supporter's point of view for so long, that we've too many people pulling separate directions. It needs one sort of organization, for want of a better term, and everyone moving into one direction. Because and this is no disrespect to people who organize it, but you've seen, like, I know people mean well by this, right? But this weekend, for example, and we'll give the details and more, later in the show or whatever, but there's 3 fundraisers this weekend. 2 of them are on the one night. And I get people want to help, and I get people want to raise money and all that, right? But that's not joined up thinking. Because straight away, I can't be a boat on the one night. But also there's factors like, can I afford to go to even say 2 events at the weekend? Can I, everyone has stuff going on, be it work, family, etc. Can I get out 2 nights in a row? And this is on top of like future plans the club may have. And again, we need to hear more about that. So it needs a direction, really. To be fair to, and it's just the one I've heard the most, the new supporters trust has at least set out a goal. They've set out tiers of membership, etc. But nothing like this is going to work, in my opinion anyway, if there's 2 or 3 different units going in separate directions. Now, maybe you can have a trust that have a role in, I think the phrase used was guardianship, that raise money for the likes of the future investments that Davey referenced, but also in keeping the club alive. Probably is the major goal right now, and should always be. And maybe that can work alongside a supporters club that does the, I think, and in Orla's words herself the other night, the 1903's major role to date has probably been around, enhancing the match night experience, which I'm all for. But if, at some point, and again, one seems to move ahead of the other, the very fact that I believe they are going to the CRO this week to get, officially set up as a company, and there is obviously that meeting on the 25th of October in the town hall that I presume is happening. Now, I'm happy to speak to anyone involved with that and give it publicity closer to the time, etc. That's neither here nor there. This isn't for or against any one plan. It's that we need one plan. We don't need 5 plans or 3 plans. Again, my opinion, because it's going to dilute everything, and also, you know, you could set up a trust tomorrow and someone could pump 1 million into it. Great start. But you need some relationship with the actual club as well. So if I'm John Temple, I'm not going to meet 10 different people. You know, you need one group, you know, to go in with that, because look, I don't want to. I'm not trying to be disrespectful to anyone who is, you know, trying, because everyone's well intentioned, but, and I think the possible one mistake of the new trust, for want of a better term, they made was, right, there was a meeting that took place in the Spirit Store to set it up, and it feels closed shop. I'm not saying it is closed shop, and again, this is something that they'll address maybe at their meeting, but straight away, people have their backs up. And then
But somebody has to start it.
I agree.
Somebody has to get the meeting going.
I agree. But see, this is the issue. And I'm not saying it feels closed shop from my perspective, because I'm not saying I want to be necessary. I'll support anything that supports the club. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I want to be, you know, chairman or anything like it on any of these. But my point being, you spoke about transparency from owners. That goes from, you know, if you're asking, because the buy-in, and look, I've no doubt a lot of people will support this, but like the buy-in for like at the top level is $1,000 a year for this trust. You could then to a level of 520, and I think 250 or something like that. Maybe it's 260, whatever. We'll go through we'll discuss the ins and outs of maybe before that meeting on the 25th. But it's a lot of money for people to commit, and
before a season ticket, before a jersey.
Yeah, and this is in the context, like, it just in recent weeks, right? So you've had a GoFundMe from the 1903, which, look, we've discussed the importance of it. Like, to be fair, it's going to go to the academy, which is very important. You have you've had a GoFundMe for the likes of Maxi. You've had, you know, various fundraisers taking place this weekend. You are getting to, like, you know, talks of jerseys, talks of, like, I'll discuss this more, but the gym apparently reopened, and, you know, stuff like that. And we've all got stuff going on in our own lives as well. And again, I've no doubt people will want to help the club, and I know there has been pledges of support already, and that's great. But it just automatically creates confusion when there's 2 very similar plans out there, and possibly more, because I'm not, like, and again, I don't know if they're doing anything, but are the shed side doing anything? I have no idea. Maybe they're happy rolling in behind one or the other, but it just creates confusion, and it just creates a sort of, I don't know, it's not all rowing into one direction right now. We need to get there, and I hope we do get there, because I do think this is needed. But that's just my concern from the outset, that there's almost too much happening. And it's, you know, everyone means well. That this is not a go at anyone that's running an event or trying to set up this, that, or the other, or trying to get something off the ground. Something off the ground is badly needed, but it needs one plan that the majority can get behind in a democratic way. That, right, you might want it to go in a slightly different direction, but you row in with it, as opposed to certainly 2 plans out there right now, and a supporter confusion of, well, which way do I go? And like, I know some of the people involved with say that we'll call it the new trust, but to this point anyway, a lot of them haven't revealed themselves, and that's their prerogative. But again, that creates a sort of unease among the fan picking up, because this was on the back page of the Argus today. So if I'm picking up the likes of the Argus today, this sounds wonderful, but who's actually running it? So again, a lot more clarity needed. And I think people across the board let bygones be bygones. But everyone around the past, this can't be something. And I'm not saying it is, but this can't be something that people want to be involved with for ego or whatever. The best people should run this, whoever they are.
But people have different opinions on that, and I have different opinions.
And that's but that's look.
Yeah.
Listen, we potentially have a general election coming up next month as well.
Unconfirmed.
Well, unconfirmed, but it's going to happen sooner rather than later. And your opinion on who should run the country, and my opinion, and someone might, but we get to a point where you mightn't like it, but you go along with it because that's the democratic way. And it needs to get to that point where this is what we voted for as a supporter base. If you buy in, you have your say. You know, you can overcomplicate these things too. We have in the likes of Ireland like credit unions where in theory everyone is a member. When you put your money in, you're a member, and you have your say and your vote, whatever. Connect Credit Union, for example, had a meeting, of like members very recently where they, were going like they took exception to the closure of certain offices and stuff. You're never gonna maybe agree on everything, and at that stage maybe there does need to be actions like that. But my point being, the credit union movement works quite well with, we're all members, but we trust the general direction of the way it's been run. And that's what this club needs to get towards, because too many times in the past there hasn't been that one thing, and that's what I just fear. And listen, I hope I'm wrong on it again, but when you hear of numerous plans, I just think it creates confusion. And again, it's a lot of money for certain people. Like, listen, €1,000 for someone might be a drop in the ocean. For other people, it might mean getting a loan out. And I've no doubt people will get loans out to support something like this. But
sponsored by Connect Credit Union,
No, but well, I'm sure they will, but look, it's I just think it needs one direction for now. We can't have two or three.
I think
trusts.
the meeting is going to be a massive thing. Again, you were there last night, so the one on the 25th of October, it will tell a lot. And I think there is, and in fairness, the guys did reach out to us to even come on here. We're literally just recording as we've seen the messages.
Yeah, and I'll go back to that and look, that there's a
time
time for that.
We'll give that fair, but also from my point of view, there is definite, and I've been talking to a few different people about it last week. Like, there's definite questions I'd want to ask. And I think this will give people on the 25th an opportunity, and hopefully maybe we'll have a podcast with somebody on that we can ask these questions. And there is questions that fans want to know, like longevity. So I think it's very easy. Everybody's, as you say, £1,000, 500 quid. People will give now because we all know it's burning. We want to survive. Will somebody want to do that in 3 years? And why do they want to do that in 3 years? And these are just questions.
Yeah.
That have to be asked. And again, Sligo, Bowes, there's other clubs around the continent as well that do it well. So like, it's not to say it won't work, but everybody wants to know more. And to be fair, as we've said, there is going to be a meeting in the town hall, so people can go to that. Hopefully we will do something on the pod as well. But I think, it's just that there's options. It doesn't mean that they can't be quizzed. But I think, as you said, whatever happens, everybody needs to go in the same boat. We all need to go on that same journey, because it just becomes a mess. If you're going to split votes, essentially, nobody wins there. Nobody wins. And I think whatever happens, if there is a trust, a potential fan buy of a percentage, everybody as a fan has to be in that together. And only time will tell what happens in that, because we don't actually know if Temple's open to it, if anything's even happened.
But be it John Temple now or someone into the future, you can't just go and, like, I get why supporters want it. You can't just go and say, well, we want supporter representation on the board. What are you offering me?
Yeah. You have to go in as an investor. That's how it works. You can't turn around and be like,
well, you have to.
We're fans, we deserve this. No.
Provide whatever. Like,
X to the table. We're bringing the 500,000 to the table, but it has to be every year.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's great. We can all bust our bollocks and get it now for this year. How are you getting to 500 grand next year? Now, maybe it will be done, but that's
Yeah,
where
and look, that's going to be the hard part, and look, that's one of the questions to go forward. But my fear is that it's doomed to failure already if there's too many plans,
yeah.
and that's not being disrespectful to anyone's ideas or strategies or whatever else. But it needs one. Like you look at, and we praise them regularly. You look at Sligo, Bitterhead Supporters Trust. There's not another.
Brendan Rodgers over there tonight.
Good luck to Brendan.
Mm.
But anyway, look, and again, just to finalize on that, because we've a lot to discuss. This is going to be about a 3 hour pod probably, but I wish the trust like, and I use that in a loose term. It's not favouring
Which
one
trust is
over the other. Well, I wish the direction well, but I just wish there was one direction. Like again, um, you know. I go back to the example this weekend, and I know it's small fry in the grand scheme of things, but you've 3 events on that.
What's the three events? There's the bingo, the thing on the Spirit Store, and what's the other one?
There's a comedy night in Tolls, and again, all like I'm not belittling anyone running them or supporting them or whatever, and great, but like it's you have to be realistic and like.
Do one of them next weekend, lads. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, like this, you don't put everything on the one time, like sort of thing. But and that's again, I hope all 3 events are a huge success. But it's just again, it's to bring joined up thinking about it because, hypothetically, I say, right, yeah, the season ends the 1st of November. Right, that weekend I'm going to do a big gala night in the Liz do. Well, maybe someone else is doing something else, and it dilutes everything. And again, there's a limit to the amount that people will have because also, like, look, and again, this go back to the club, but the club have their own plans for. I'm not even sure what they are, but like, that I know that there's plans to reopen the gym, for example. There is hope for, jerseys. That's at least been discussed. Is there going to be season tickets going on sale, etc.? So everything's money, and also Christmas is gonna, be coming around fairly sharpish as well. There's, we all have our own commitments, etc. So it just needs, you know, one one direction, as I say, and I wish whoever sort of gets that off the ground well, because look, again, I would say one's trust is certainly probably further ahead than we've been in quite a while in relation to something like this, and good luck to them. But uh, it, there's a reason why this hasn't happened in Dundalk up until now, and it's not all supporter laziness or whatever, for want of a better term. It's because it's bloody hard,
Mm.
and it's made harder when there's multiple plans, in my opinion.
We've a million fan questions, so we're not going to get through all of them because even some of them are kind of referencing, managers and stuff for next year and stuff, and I don't think that's fair as of now. But there was a whole section. I put out a tweet about the 1903 meeting, and there was loads of questions, but actually one of them did say, and again, not being there, I can't comment, but where are we now? Yeah, Ushin Tormy did say, why was there no fundraising aspect for 3 months asked by Temple, followed by a request to fund a development squad? And I seen a few people asking about that. Andrea also said he didn't ask for no fundraising for 3 months. He asked us to coordinate so we didn't clash with our promotion, which I understand. The 1903 is independent, so decisions are made by members of the club. Again, from what your take on that meeting, like what I seen from Twitter, and Twitter's obviously a basket case, I thought, did the club come out and say, don't do fundraising, that we're going to look after it now after all this time? Like, or what actually even happened there?
Well, we're again running off what Orla Crilly told us, and I have no reason to doubt Orla, but she said that following her initial meeting with John Temple, he asked to give them time because there had been, they were drawing up their own plans. Again, maybe supporters would be a bit, I don't know, more patient, for want of a better term, if we knew there was X, Y, and Z coming down the road. And I don't mean, listen, obviously they can't tell us everything, but like, for example, I know one of the ideas broached, whether it'll happen or not, was around a car draw. So if there's a car draw happening, um, you know, maybe let us in on that, to say, right, well, at least they're doing something. If there's, I don't know, jerseys, at least say, like, no one's asking for an exact date, but, there'll be jerseys on sale pre-Christmas. There'll be season tickets going on sale end of November, whatever it is. Just a little bit of direction. And I guess, again, this is the fear. You can do too much, and there's only so much everyone has to give in terms of whatever it is, and if there's too much happening, like, again, and I've said it there, I wish the trust well, but say this gets off the ground and let's even say 100 people give 1,000 and maybe another 100 sign up for the tenner a week for 52 weeks of the year, etc. Maybe I'm not buying I don't know, as many jerseys or something, because again,
now it is separate to the club. If the club are selling jerseys or selling a card, that is separate.
It is, but your wages are your wages, and there's only so many ways you can divide it up, is my point. And
Sligo do sell jerseys and stuff as well. It is a separate thing.
It is, but what I mean is, but
they
run fundraisers across the year. There's a big, for want of a better term, panic on now to get a lot done between now and Christmas, and it's a smaller period, and just a little bit of joint up thinking. Like, so I'm not saying this is happening, but if the supporters club are running, an annual draw a la Sligo, maybe don't have it the same weekend as the club are raffling a car. That's all I'm saying. And it's just, that would be an ideal situation. I'm not saying either of those things are happening, but like, yeah, you probably don't do two things the one weekend or the one night or whatever. And that, to me, I haven't spoken to John Temple about this. I'm not told he has told people not to fundraise, but look, we had a previous ownership group who said they weren't interested in fundraising. It's baffling to me, because if I'm in charge and people want to give me money for whatever or support my organization in whatever way, even if that's providing me with a brand new upgraded bar, as one suggestion came in there, sign up, lads, work away.
Right. Well, before we do discuss the amazing 1-1 draw with Galway on Friday, let's hear from our sponsors, The Unit.
Today's episode is powered by The Unit, experts in building innovative products for the betting, iGaming, and sports industries. They're the brains behind building innovative products tailored for those who love the game as much as we do. From software that powers up the betting world to platforms that enhance how we engage with our favourite sports, The Unit is leading the charge. The Unit, a winning team that reminds me of the Kenny era Dundalk in their consistency and results. Proud sponsors of the Press Box podcast. Learn more at theunit.dev.
Right. Well, Dundalk didn't get the win they needed in DC Park. They did put in a huge spanner in Galway's title ambitions with Owen Kenny's 96-minute equaliser, seeing the side avoid a 6th successive league defeat. So you were obviously over there, but I will tell a funny story. I was, as we discussed earlier, I got married 2 weeks ago, and for a few days afterwards, me and my wife went over to Scotland, and we were staying in a place called Troon, and we were in this kind of secluded place. But on one of the days that we were kind of on our mini moon or whatever you would call it, my whole evening stuck because I couldn't get the telly working to transfer over LOA TV on my phone, which was a disaster because I didn't know you couldn't actually Chromecast from your phone on LOA TV. Obviously, you can't another. So I was sitting in a blanket watching us like playing Galway, and then I was thinking to myself, what am I doing with my life? So there was a big assessment of my whole life as I was watching Dundalk draw with Galway. And it was nice to see Owen Kenny actually equalise, but paying €7 to watch on my iPhone Galway on a few days after I got married on a couch in Scotland. I thought life could be better. Life could be better. And now Owen Kenny's equaliser did slightly help, but I remember thinking, God, life has to be better than this, you know. So this is where people understand where Dundalk FC takes people, you know.
Yeah, look, it's probably not the weirdest place. I've seen some people watch the dog matches. Mark Carolan, I think, is normally watching them in a sound studio in somewhere like the San Siro or whatever.
He's
But
allowed to watch things on San Siro, sitting on a couch in a blanket on your iPhone. I think Mark has a bit of a higher quality level than me.
yeah, yeah. Look, um, yeah, look. To be fair, I made a conscious decision going down to Galway on Friday. I think no matter what the outcome, I wasn't going to be too critical of the team because do you know what? Um, and we referenced it. Maxi's funeral was Thursday, and I thought as a pre-match prep, you know, having your entire squad at a funeral and literally, and I know you weren't there. I think you were still away at the time, but like literally four of the starting 11 in Galway were carrying his coffin down after Mass at the Redeemer Church. John Mountney, Robbie Benson, Darrell Horgan, Andy Boyle, as well as Peter Cherry and Liam Burns. So, like, as pre-match prep goes, I think that's as probably bizarre as you can imagine. Um, I think, to be fair to the lads, look, we can question maybe quality at times, etc. But I don't think they've been found wanting for performance or effort, and that's look, it's not points on the board, but
Well, for the last few weeks.
yeah, but look, if you assess this, look, maybe at the end we'll assess the season as a
Yeah.
whole or whatever. But to be fair, there's been about I think 52 players I think I've seen play for the Dundalk this season. So there's been a lot of ins and outs and ups and downs, and look, maybe it's taken a while, but like yeah, look, they weren't they definitely tried hard, and like Galway were going second at one point on Friday, which shows you the bizarre nature of this league. And um, again, we were probably the better team for much of the first half until, you know, again, Patrick Hickey gets a header with their first shot on target in 41 minutes. They go ahead and it probably looked like for all the world we're going to see it out. For me, John Caulfield made a massive tactical mistake because Hickey was probably the best player on the field. He was a constant threat. I think if Galway were going to add a second, it was always going to be him. And he took him off. He'd taken Vincent Borden off not long before that as well. You're talking two of their giants. And when he took Hickey off, he put Rob Slevin on. And for me, it was a sort of, I said this live on LMF, this is in hindsight. I said, I don't think there's a wise move because, you know, I get shutting up shop, but sometimes the best way to shut up shop is go look for the second as well. But they sat back and they got punished by Kenny's header, which was look a nice moment for him and probably a better moment for his dad because it's probably with Derry beating Bows on the same night, it's massively like there's a real potential for fourth place getting Europe and Pats are in theory. Now, I know I think Pats play Galway ironically in their next game in Richmond, but Pats haven't been potentially in a relegation dogfight not that long ago, or risked getting sort of drawn into it even after their European run ended. You know, they well in theory they could still win a league. I don't think they're one of the favourites, but it's just been such a bonkers league. And look, it was a good point, but you know the reality is that we could be officially relegated this weekend now because if Drogheda win away to Waterford, we're mathematically gone. Realistically, it's probably going to be very hard to stay up anyway because I think we need them to lose all their matches between now and the end, and we'd need to win ours. So we'd need to beat Derry at home, Rovers at home, and obviously Drogheda on the final day. And look, we've actually got good records against Derry and Rovers, particularly at Oriel, but
Stop, boys, stop.
3 wins in a row. 3 wins in a row is probably a bit much to ask for, given where we've been. But like, even at that, even if we do win our last three, it still mightn't be enough. That's how far behind and unlikely it is. I'd say you get massive odds on the Dundalk staying up now. Um, maybe it'll happen. Like, I was kind of half laughing about it, but in a year, well, like the whole Dundalk journey from, it's coming up on 10 years since we won our first league title under Stephen Kenny. Like, there's been so many stuff that, you couldn't, if it was like a Netflix series, you couldn't write it. It just wouldn't be believable. But what will probably happen is the Drogheda don't get the job done in Waterford. Rovers will beat them next weekend, on the following weekend, sorry, to keep us alive in theory. And we're playing the same night. And a certain fella called Patrick Hoban will probably come back and relegate us with Derry by scoring an Oriel.
Probably
That to
won't
me
even
would
get
be the ultimate cherry. Yeah, well, it may not, but that would be the ultimate cherry of madness on top of everything. But yeah, look, it's probably done. And listen, I don't want to belittle the football or whatever. To be fair to the guys, and even John Daly, like, he's had to deal with things that you probably couldn't imagine. That you come in and you're probably thinking your biggest worry is, who am I playing on left wing today, and what setup do I have? And he's had to deal with, questions around non-payment of players, and questions over the liquidity of the club, and look, that feeds into the team as well. Like, to be fair, um,
We've also
it's
won
been
5 games in the whole season, and we've had 3 managers. So I have
yeah,
huge
yeah, no,
sympathy in an extent for John Daly, but I'm sorry, we have not been good enough, and we're going down
yeah, but
because
look,
of that.
the
That's
damage, and look, we'll reflect on this properly at the end of the season. But the damage for me was done in terms of the playing staff. Like, when you go back to our pre-season, last year, where, like, I personally think, and I'm not making him out to be a world beater or anything, but I think had we kept Nathan Shepherd, we're probably anywhere between 9 to 15 points better off very easily. And that's probably given him license for a wobbler or two as well. If we keep Patrick Hoban, who was under contract, as well as him, we're probably pushing for Europe, because there's damn all between any team in this league. Um, and it's little decisions like that, we've got a lot of our transfers wrong. Um, even since the summer, to not go back too far, we've signed players that haven't really been involved, or very, very little, you know. Um, and that's nothing against the players necessarily, because look, if you're not up to it, someone offers me a good deal, I'm probably taking it whether I'm up to it or not, but our recruitment across the year has probably been massively wanting. Um, but certainly, and I'm not using it as an excuse for the whole, but certainly in recent weeks, I think the players, to be fair to them, have performed really, really admirably in difficult circumstances, very, very difficult circumstances.
yeah. Again, definitely time for another pod, but I can't. No, like, we were shocking the whole year through many different faults, and the last few weeks with the wages and stuff have been awful on the players, and they've given great performances. But I'm also on a website, BBC, whatever. Just looking at the league table actually to quickly assess, is there any hope? But there's clearly not. And yes, we drew the last, but we also lost the last 5. And I'm looking at other teams, like, we deserve everything we've got, and it's sad. The player recruitment's been awful and stuff, but also, coaches can do so much. Players have to have that want, that desire, that acumen to go beat a team, not make mistakes consistently. So I think we're all emotional. We're worried now because the future of the club's a disgrace, and we're worried because we, as I said, think everything's going to fall asunder. but I'm not going to stand here and say, unlucky lads. Nah, 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 nah. It was terrible the season from start to finish.
It was, but yeah, but that's a wider conversation. I'm just on about in recent weeks, to be fair, that I don't think. Look, it's not easy being in the circumstances, but all you can
No,
ask
it's
of
not. And I
any,
do need to pull that aside for the few
yeah,
weeks that this has happened.
yeah,
We were bottom before that. So, like, listen, that's maybe we'll deal with that next week.
yeah,
So also on a great weekend for us, obviously, Drogheda got to the FAI Cup final, with a last minute winner as well. That I was listening with Dave McMillan was on commentary and stuff. And listen, fair play to them. But one of the things that is funny, I do think, imagine we had beaten them. Drogheda's run to the FAI Cup final. There's a lad that comes into me and he's a Drogheda fan. And, like, they're all buzzing and stuff, and they'll potentially stay up anyway. I think with the first division playoff team, they'll probably defeat. I remember just thinking, Jesus, even as bad as we are, we actually probably could have got to an FAI Cup final. So it is all about
yeah.
luck. But
And in recent weeks, like the benefit of that is, I think, from an investment point of view, you're much more of an attractive proposition if you're 90 minutes away from European football.
yeah,
Now,
absolutely.
I would make Derry the favourite, and this is nothing against Strahd. I would make Derry the favourites for the final. Just being there, done that. But I think bigger pitch will suit them on the day. Doesn't mean Drogheda don't win it, of course, but yeah, you're a much bigger, better bet if you are 90 minutes away from pocketing, and especially in our situation, we still have the seeding.
Yeah,
If Drogheda go into into Europe, they're unseeded, needless to say, whereas we'd be seeded. So albeit you'd be probably first division, but maybe it saves you to some extent. But look, the debts are that big that maybe not. But yeah, like definitely you do look back at that game in Weavers Park, and we threw it away to them that night. To be honest with you, they didn't have to do anything special to beat us. And there's probably been too many of those this season where just individual mistakes get punished, and probably a lack of quality up front, and that's what I'm saying. Like maybe you question the players or whatever, but I do think certainly in recent weeks the players have been trying their best. Obviously, we're lacking certain things like
goals.
well everything. Like I looked at like Ryan O'Kane had the cross for Owen Kenny's goal in Galway, for example. It's the second assist of the season, which puts him joint second in our assist table. Obviously, Horgan's out on top. Cammy Elliott is still joint second with 2 assists. So not a vintage year for creativity either. So it's yeah, it's been tough, but it's like again wider conversation of how we got here. But yeah, a lot of off the field stuff, obviously, but even you have to ask serious questions of our recruitment strategy.
Yeah.
And to be fair as well, a lot of those people are probably no longer at the club.
Right. Well, as Jim did say earlier, there's actually 3 fundraisers on this weekend, so we will just give people some context anyway. So, there's 2 taking place on Friday night. If anybody wants to go, one's in the Spirit Store. It's an 80s night with DJ Baz, and it gets underway at 8 p.m. with admission at tenner. On Friday night, also there's in Tolls, there's a comedy night. It's El Paso Comedy, and that presents Terry O'Neill and guests. Admission is a tenner, and the doors are at 8 p.m. And then on the Saturday, the 1903 are holding a music bingo fundraising event in the Liz Do. The doors are going to open at 7:30, and tickets are 20 quid or €190 for a table of 10. And again, all proceeds are going to go towards supporter-based projects around Oriel Park. Also, our final home league fixture even of the season is against Shamrock Rovers on Sunday on October 27th. That's actually now going to kick off at 5:45 due to TV coverage on Virgin Media 2. Bookings are also open now for the 2024 Dundalk Halloween camp, which is going to take place during the upcoming school midterm break. The camp is going to take place in Oriel Park on Tuesday, October 29th until Thursday, the 31st of October. And it's going to start at 10:30, finishing at 1:30 each day. And the price is 60 quid per child. And you can sign up on the website, dundalkfc.com. Also, a really brilliant thing that the club have done. So since our last home game, Dundalk are now providing audio descriptive commentary services to supporters. So the community initiative, which is supported by Rehab Care Dundalk and is funded by the club's Lily the Bin campaign, Vision Ireland and Vision Sport Ireland got underway for the Bows game. So 8 volunteers who specialise in ADC and sight guide training are going to provide the commentary and describe significant visual information about the game, and adding additional narration even to help convey the image, venue and ambience around the game. Also, we're doing a cyber sale, so we're going to try raise a few pound here for the club. So the club are doing a 4-day cyber sale starting at 9 a.m. Thursday the 10th of October through to Sunday the 13th of October, with all different gear and I suppose different offers they're going to have. So don't miss out on that, and you can get that on the website on dundalkfc.com. So before we do go, Jim is going to give us a full underage roundup in association with Jerry McNamee Consultants.
Yeah, so just as I mentioned earlier, unrelated to the underage, but equally related to it, we had 2 of our under-16s in action for Ireland. TJ Malloy was on target for the Ireland boys under-16s in front of Scotland. The other day, Sean Spade captained the country, but unfortunately, we went down on penalties and on the day in the end. But just to give the roundup of last weekend's matches, on Saturday, the men's under-20s had a 2-1 win at home to Finn Harps, with Conor O'Gorman opening the scoring in the game before Mohammed Harris fired home the winner in 78 minutes, just 3 minutes after the Donegal side had equalised. The men's under-15s also had a 0-0 draw away to Mayo on Saturday, while the women's under-17s lost out 2-1 away to Drogheda United. Erin Shannon had equalised early in the second half, only for the Boynesiders to secure the win in the 89th minute. On Sunday, the women's under-19s had a 5-0 defeat away to Peamount, while the men's under-14s went down 3-2 away to UCD, despite goals from Luke Cullen and Oliver Hughes. There was better luck for the men's under-17s, however, as they beat Sligo Rovers 1-0 at home, courtesy of Niko Lovrkovic's goal early in the second half. This Saturday, the men's under-20s travelled to face Longford Town at 1 p.m, while both the women's under-17s and men's under-15s are away to Finn Harps at 3 p.m. and 2 p.m. respectively. On Sunday, the women's under-19s host Galway United in a top-of-the-table clash at Oriel Park, while there's another trip to Donegal for the men's under-14s who face Finn Harps at 3:30. And just also last Sunday afternoon, the League of Ireland Down Syndrome Futsal Festival returned for the second series at the National Sports Campus in Abbottstown. And after narrowly missing out on victory earlier this year, Dundalk displayed some impressive form throughout the tournament. Placed alongside Sligo Rovers, Cork City and Derry City, Dundalk started strongly with a 6-1 victory over Derry, in which David O'Hare scored 4 goals, with Micheál McCloy and Aaron Connolly grabbing 1 each. Next up, there were 4-1 winners against Sligo, thanks to goals from McCloy, a brace from Jamie Linden and another from Jonathan Evans. And then they rounded off the group stage with a 1-1 draw against Cork, with Linden finding the net, ensuring they topped the group with 7 points. In the semi-finals, Dundalk triumphed over Wexford FC 2-1, Kevin Traynor netting both goals to send the team to the final for the second time. And facing Finn Harps once again in a rematch of June's final, Dundalk came up short, losing 3-2 despite a further 2 goals from Traynor. And I suppose Harps goalkeeper deserves plenty of praise for that one. He made 3 outstanding saves in the closing minutes to help them secure the win. So look, overall a decent result for the Dundalk side, finishing runners-up for a second time.
Right, well that is that again this week on the press box. So we do thank anybody that's still here. We're definitely an hour and a half, 2 hours in, and a lot of topics had to be discussed. But again, we want to thank our main sponsors, the unit, as well as our associate sponsors, Player Fit, Jerry McNamee Consultants, and Malone Financial Insurances. We are also on YouTube, so if anybody wants to like and subscribe, again, it does help. It's a different visual, so log on to the press box on YouTube and you can watch it here. So until next time, hopefully we come back with some better news, but until then, we'll talk to you later.
Look how the stars turn on. Look how the stars